Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today to learn about BDO's 7P diagnostic tool. It's fantastic to have such a good turnout. As this is a live event, please do add any questions or comments in the Q&A box and I'll be happy to address these for you. Today we are very lucky to have two BDO Wellington partners to present to us, Justin Martin and Tristan Will. Justin, could you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Justin Martin, partner in the advisory team in Wellington office. I'm really pleased to be here today. Looking forward to going through the model with you. Just a quick bit of background. I'm working with a wide range of clients across retail, not-for-profit and small and medium-sized businesses. And I also head up our financial literacy colour accounting product.
And Tristan?
Morning, everyone. Tristan Will. I'm an advisory partner in Wellington, but I also lead our franchise and retail specialists across the country. I've been part of the team for 18 years and just really enjoy getting in there and working with clients and helping them achieve what they're trying to achieve. So what is the 7 Ps all about? It's all about the who, the what, the where, the how, the why, the return on investment, and the results that you're seeking to achieve. It focuses very much on the internal factors of your operations. What is the 7 Ps model and why was it developed? This was BDO's global response to the pandemic that we're still dealing with. Initially, it was all to assist with businesses adjusting to the new normal, but it's relevant for every business as they move forward. It's a map to assisting with simplifying the focus on those key internal areas that I talked about before. It involves a simple survey tool, a benchmark out the back of it against industry, country, peers, etc., and then report specifically on your results. It all starts with the right questions. So the survey is an online survey. Basic questions takes about 10 minutes to complete. It's all about understanding what you're thinking about at the moment and then painting a picture of how that relates to the business overall and the factors of the 7 Ps. The great thing is, as you're responding, within an hour, you will get a survey result back, which you can look at to compare your results to others. And good to go. Yeah, so we'll go through the survey shortly. I'll show you what it looks like. But just before we get there, just want to click through to the next slide. So about the tool, the 7 Ps, I think it's really important that we just look at what the 7 Ps are all about. So I mentioned before the who, so that's all about your people. So what are you doing at the moment to retain, protect, motivate your workforce? The what, it's all about processes. So how are you going about reframing what you're doing, how you're doing it, etc., to make sure that it's strong. Purpose, all about why. Why is so important when it comes to business, but why are you doing everything that you're aiming to achieve? Profit, so profit, it's all about that return on investment. So what are you focusing on? How are you focusing to drive that bottom line? Performance, that's all about the how. How are your team going about things? What are the KPIs to achieve? Productivity, that's all about results. So what are we getting through in a day? What are we achieving? And place, it's all about the where. Where are we taking our work? Where are we doing our work? Where are we delivering our work? And that's probably one of the most interesting things out of the survey when we get through to the results at the end. So just jumping across to the survey. When you start the survey, this is what you will end up looking at. Simple boxes to just stick in your basic information, go through. They are nice radio button answers. Here's some examples of questions that have been answered so far. So real basic questions on what your business is like at the end. Sorry, I've ended up starting
We're going
for some reason. That's right. Linking and just rating what's the most important out of the 7 Ps to you when things go wrong. And then simple radio button questions like this as to what your focus is on. Wasn't going to step through that much of the survey itself. What I really wanted to do was jump through to the benchmark tool so that we can have a look at some results that are already coming into New Zealand. So once you complete your survey, you'll get a link to this benchmark site, and you'll also get a unique code which you can put in this box here. You've then got a whole lot of filters to play with, so the control is absolutely in your hands to look at what other countries around the world are responding with, what industries are responding with, etc. I'm only going to focus on New Zealand today, but in time we'll be putting some information out about the different industries. So what you're looking at in the benchmark graph here, the spider diagram, is in the dark red color, overall what the global response has been so far to the questions in the survey. The orange is the results in New Zealand. And when you do the survey and put your number in, you'll have your own spider line in blue. The thing that I find most interesting about this from a New Zealand perspective so far is people is by far our greatest response to what's going on. We're very much focused on our people. That could be any one of a number of factors. When you consider a lot of us have been working from home, a lot of us are dealing with a shortage of people. Unemployment in Wellington, as an example, about a month ago was stated as 2%, which is very, very low. Compared to the 4.5% that the Reserve Bank aim to keep it around. So not surprising, our biggest focus is on people. Our least focus though is on place. So it's kind of our mentality, I guess. We don't necessarily care where we deliver our work when we're able to deliver it other places. One interesting thing is if you run healthcare through this survey, you'll see that place changes dramatically. Place is very important from a healthcare point of view for that industry, but overall we're seeing that place isn't that important. Productivity is our second greatest focus in the country at the moment, followed closely by process, just over here, and then performance. And interestingly, the only two that are exactly the same globally and in New Zealand is purpose and profit. If we step through to the second part of the benchmark survey, so when you complete the survey, you'll get your responses down the bottom for what are your priorities now and what are your priorities in the 6 months. But you get an opportunity to compare those against the benchmark. Now, I find it particularly interesting to look at this because it's not just about how you're responding, but seeing how competitors and other people in your industry are responding and taking that moment just to go, why are they responding differently to me? Or, okay, why are we responding the same? Is that appropriate? So really getting that thought process going about, am I doing the right things? Am I going about this right? Or what competitive factors am I going to have if everybody's focusing on exactly the same thing? And the final page is all about financial results. But interesting when you start to delve into this by industry, but we'll just focus on New Zealand for today. So the top area here is all about the budget, how you're approaching compared to pre-COVID times. What we're seeing is a little bit of a reduction in focus on the workforce. So there's 11% of people who are spending less or budgeting for less spend in that area. But overwhelmingly, we're seeing static or more funds being spent. And that's not surprising given we're supporting people at home or we're really having to compete to get the right workforce at the moment. Investment plans, so we're seeing 11% of responders are reducing what they're investing on, 62% are just going exactly or near enough to the same as what they've done in the past, and 28% have really started to put some more money into their investment. Not surprising there, a little bit of uncertainty, sticking with the status quo seems about right. Innovation budget, we're seeing a lot more spend at the top end. So you've got 43% that are looking to spend money on new service lines, new products, new markets. There's opportunity that always comes out of disruption, so that's not particularly surprising. But also seeing a large majority, 46%, just staying with what they've been budgeting in the past. IT, dramatic, either increase or staying stable. It's difficult with these results. They change every time someone puts results in. And when I was playing with the numbers last night, there was more in the bottom category that were investing less, but we've seen that increase again today. So with people working from home, that requires more technology, different technology. With the cyber security considerations that we've got at the moment, with the number of attacks coming from overseas on our IT systems, not surprising seeing the same amount or more being spent by responders. Sales and marketing budget, I think this is going to differ dramatically on what industry you're in. So some are not going to have the ability to invest as much in sales and marketing. So you're seeing 19% pull back. By far, that's the greatest category of responders pulling back. 47 staying the same, and then we're seeing 34% going, hey, there's opportunity out there, I'm going to use this. If we jump down to the bottom, on the left you've got your current results versus pre-COVID, and on the right your post-COVID financial results, so not immediately now, a little bit in the past versus pre-COVID results. I'm only going to focus on the left-hand side today, the current result. When you complete this survey, there's extra little boxes that'll pop up on here to tell you where you're sitting compared to the market. I just don't have somebody's results I'm willing to share today. I don't think that's fair to people, but if you look at the top line sales, we're seeing 31% have had some decrease in sales, 22% are stable, but 46%, so more are gaining sales than are losing sales in the current environment. If you do peer across to the other side though, immediately post-COVID, you'll see that there was a lot more people that were getting sales increases at that time, and that's just pulled back a little bit. When you look at the net results, we've got 39% who are making less in the short term, 21% that are stable, and we've got 44% that have increased their bottom line. So there are more in the positive than the negative, is the interesting thing I take out of that. Over to Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Trust. So in the second part of the presentation, we just wanted to take you through a little bit more detail about each of the 7 Ps, and really just to start thinking about what are some of the key considerations and the key questions that you might be wanting to ask yourself if your results require you to focus on a particular area. So yeah, let's start stepping through them. Thanks, Danielle. So let's start with purpose. I think this one's really important. The why. This is why you're in business, why you're doing what you're doing. And there's a really great YouTube clip there from Simon Sinek. If you haven't seen it before, please do check it out. We'll post that up in the chat, so you've got that link coming through to you. And that's really all about defining what and working out what your why is if it's something that you're not so sure about. Here at BDO, what's our why? Our why is people helping people achieve their dreams. So that's something that is really important to us, and it's a message we want to get out to all our staff and our clients as well. So some of the key considerations that you'd be looking at here would be checking out your strategic plan. Hopefully you've got a document like that in place. if you don't have a chat with your local BDO advisor. And that's a document, that should be a living document that you're updating regularly, and particularly in the wake of the pandemic. And just picking off one more here, looking at your vision and your mission, and your service offering as well. So those are all key components of that strategic plan. All right, so moving on then to the next P, looking at people. And like Tristan said before, this is all about protecting, retaining and motivating your workforce. This is a really key one. It was the top when we looked at the New Zealand results. And it's also pretty timely, thinking about particularly around the health and safety aspect, ties in well with Mental Health Awareness Week this week. Really making sure that we're supporting our people and giving them the right tools they need to do the job, regardless of where they're working from. The retention piece, as we touched on, that is, continues to be a challenging environment out there, very competitive. So looking at what you can do, it's not just all about the money. It's what other aspects can you offer, what other benefits can you offer to your staff that will make them want to stick around. Cool, moving on to profit. So this is one that we're reasonably familiar with and talk about a bit, but I suppose the key thing here for me is really having that budget set up, and it's not just any budget, it's a three-way budget, which is your profit and loss, your balance sheet and your cash flow forecast. Those three components combine, and that's what you really need to be looking at that out, not just 1 year, but possibly out 2-3 years, and adjusting that, running those different scenarios. We're seeing a lot more of that scenario planning, hence the worst case, best case, and perhaps the middle ground as well. If you've got that budget in place, it's something that you can easily update versus starting from scratch. So yeah, that's probably the key takeaway from this, thinking about different types of financing and funding, refinancing. Those are all things that we can assist with as well if that's a requirement. Okay, on to processes. So this is thinking about your operations and transactions and the interactions within the business. So really taking a step back and actually looking at all of the processes that you do across your business. Are there ways that they can be more efficient or that you can innovate? In particular, stepping across to the cybersecurity side and looking at your internal controls. There's some really great tools out there that can help really bolster those potential gaps in internal controls. And that probably brings us quite nicely to the risk matrix. That should really be something that you've got in place, a risk register that you're going through, you're looking at regularly, you're rating your risks and understanding the impact that they could have on your business. And so in the link there that we'll share up is a copy of our latest risk landscape report. It's a really good read. There's some great tips in there and it's freely available. So jump on and check that out. Great, okay, on to productivity. So this is all about being effective and efficient in your operations. We did part of our RETHINK series of podcasts that we've been running right since the start of the pandemic. The most recent one was productivity and the productivity challenge. There were some really great thoughts that came through from a couple of really, really good speakers. So check out that podcast, the link's up there. You can watch that. And that was really all about, thinking about the assets that we've got and thinking about a bit broader than the assets that we might think of as accountants and how we can get the best use out of them. On the left-hand side there, just looking at some of the tools that we've got to monitor that and tying that into digital solutions, but also not forgetting and focusing on our people. They're key to this. So are there different ways that they can do their work, thinking about cross-functional teams, bringing people together in different ways that can actually be more efficient. Okay, on to performance. So this is about monitoring these processes and actually having systems set up to track this. So we've got a little bit of an example there on the right-hand side from one of the tools we use called Spotlight Reporting. So that's just one of a whole host of different tools that you could use. But the key thing here is having those KPIs set up, having a tool that can measure them, and then more importantly, it's actually taking action off the back of that result, that report you get. And I suppose that's a key takeaway from today is the benchmarking results are all well and good, but it's what are you going to do differently as a result of them, as opposed to just reading the report and then moving on.
I think an important thing to just note there as well is this isn't just about financial results. If you look in that centre KPI target scorecard, you'll see that there's some non-financial measures in there as well, so customer satisfaction and website visits. So looking at other matters rather than just financial. And with the 7P result, you've got your code and you can pop back in time to see once there's more responses in there, how that's changed, whether you need to be ready to move on a different factor, get a bit of an insight into what other people might be focusing on.
Very good. Right. Well, we've made it to the last one, place, and this is a very important one. So this is all about location and geography in the new reality. So there's quite a few different aspects to this, thinking about office space and how you're working with your staff, and then also thinking about your customers' habits. How have they changed through this pandemic? Are there different ways that you need to interact with them? And are there new markets that you can reach out to? And that ties in quite nicely with the e-commerce thought there as well, which is not just for those who are actually selling goods through electronic means, but it's ways that you're interacting electronically with your customers and connecting with them. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the presentation. We would love you to complete the survey if you haven't already. So that link, I believe, is out there. We can share it out again as well. Thank you very much for sitting in, having a listen. We hope it was of use to you. And really from here, it's all about taking action, jump in, look at your results, and then think about what 2 or 3 actions you're going to take as a result.
We're going to be looking at the results over time and releasing reports on them. So the first report that's going to come out is going to be for the construction industry. So looking at how their responses are coming through, what they're focusing on, etc. So that'll be coming out in the next few weeks. So if you're a construction business, definitely jump on and try and do that in the next couple of weeks. But very much encourage everyone to get in there, do the survey and spend some time thinking about your results compared to others. Do we have any questions? Okay. Just checking last call if anybody wants to put through any questions for us through the chat. Just give it 30 seconds or so and see if any come through. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you all for attending today. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask outside of the presentation, Justin's and my details can be found on our website, bdo.nz. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.